everybody! It's me, your friendly Washmun, URL Wash the Pilot Guy, which I realized could probably be improved upon, but oh well, it's what I got. I think a lot of you probably know by now, my name's Sky, and I just decided to make this video because as of last week, there are more than 200 of you. I don't know how that happened or why, but here you all are. So, welcome to the madness, I guess? So, okay, the first question is from Haley in the Big Bad Verse, one of my children. And can I just say, I really love RPing with baby Washburns. Because, you know, Joss Whedon couldn't let that happen. So, we get to live out all of the sappy father-daughter goodness here on Tumblr. Anyway, the answer is Wash. I had sort of seen RP blogs around just from being on Tumblr regularly, and I thought, oh wow, that's really cool. You know, you're sort of acting and writing fanfiction like in real time with other people, so that seemed really cool to me, but I didn't really have a character that I would want to play until I saw Firefly, and that was that. I completely fell in love with Wash, and I knew that I wanted to play him. So I just made an independent RP blog, which I followed like 4 people, and then after about 2 hours deleted it because I chickened out. I don't know. So then a little bit later, like a month or so later, I saw a promo for just a Whedonverse-wide RP group, and it was a promo specifically for Wash, and I was like, well, it's fate, why not? So just kind of on a whim, I applied, and that was the best decision ever, because the people in that group are so amazing and so nice, and were so supportive and encouraging, because I had never RP'd before, and yeah, so that's really what made me want to roleplay was Wash. He was just so much fun that I couldn't let him go after the show was over and after Serenity. So yeah. Okay, so the next bunch of questions come from Zoe Elaine Washburns, Sophia, my darling wife, who, seriously, I don't know that I would have lasted as long as I have RPing Wash if I didn't have her as my Zoe, because she's just so perfect, and I'm sure you all know that because you follow her too, but I just feel the need to say that because, yeah, without her sort of support and encouragement, I don't know that I would still be doing this. Yeah. So anyway, sappy aside, how long do I have to make this video? Well, first of all, I guess I just really relate to him more than any of the other characters on the show. Wash, I think he reacts to things the way I do, both in terms of the sort of sarcastic response to things that I tend to have, but also just in how he feels about the jobs they do or Mal's methods. That he's the one who's sort of the pragmatic, non-violent voice, sort of like, hey now, let's think about this before we shoot this guy, let's talk first. And I think that if I were on a spaceship with a bunch of space cowboys, that would be my reaction. Then there's the sass. I'm not anywhere in the same universe of funny or sassy as Wash. Few are, I think, but like I said, he has that sort of sarcastic response to things that I do. The major difference is I'm too chicken to say them out loud, so I just sit there quietly and awkwardly, whereas, you know, he just lets them fly, and it's beautiful. I love that for the most part, he's just really content with his life. I mean, unlike a lot of the other characters who have, you know, dark secrets in their past or have some kind of trauma or They're damaged people, and they're all really interesting, but it's just nice that, there you have Wash, who, with possible exception of wishing that, Mal had a little less influence over Zoe, other than that, he's really pretty happy. I mean, he's got a wife he adores, he's got a job he loves, he's surrounded by his friends, he's got his shirts and his dinosaurs. I just think it's nice to see that, and I think we can all, or at least I would want to have that kind of situation someday. So that's probably the main reason, is that he's just, of all my favorite characters, he holds an extra special place in my heart. That really, I can only think of maybe one or two other characters that really have been that special to me. Yeah, so that's why I RP him, because I can't really think of anyone else who I would want to spend as much time in their head. There's the humor, first of all, which is always good to cheer me up if I've had a bad day or had a fight with somebody. I can come and just live in quippy washland. Also, I think even more so than that is his relationship with Zoe. That's one of my favorite things about Firefly, just in general. I think it's one of the best, most realistic portrayals of a relationship that you find on TV. When they fight, it's about things that matter. They don't just bicker pointlessly over stuff. I like that we see them fight and that the show explored the tensions in their relationship, but instead of those tensions, leading the relationship to disintegrate, we also get to see why they stay together. That, just how much they mean to each other and how happy they really are, that you understand why they stay together despite the tricky relationship that, Zoe has with Mal, and how Wash fits in there, and especially doing it with Sophia, because our versions of the characters, I think, have a really good rapport. So it would be really, really crappy if I was having to RP with the Zoe who didn't really click with me. But I think we're so much on the same page when it comes to stuff about their relationship that it makes doing those threads really, really fun. And it keeps my ship alive. The final major point would be, I just love how brave he is. I mean, all of the characters are brave, but I like that Wash's is sort of a more reluctant bravery. Like, he's not the type to go looking for a fight or to be, ready to go in guns a-blazing. He'll try and avoid it when he can, but, when the situation calls for it, he would do anything for the people he cares about. He would do anything for Zoe. And in the end, he ends up dying to save his friends. And I really enjoy getting to do that more serious side of him, because I think that's something that often gets overlooked in a lot of fan fiction that I've read and other RP blogs that I've seen. I think they rely so heavily on the funny that they ignore the fact that we see him be serious a lot, and we see him get really mad and be really scared or worried. That was really important to me when I started RPing him, that I try and find a balance between those two things. So he's not just a one-dimensional, two-dimensional clown, that he's, feels like a living, breathing, complicated person. So, I mean, whether or not I succeed in striking that balance is a totally different question, but I try to, and that's one of my favorite things about playing him. Has to be War Stories. For me, I really love it because, as someone who's such a huge fan of Wash, this is the episode where we really get to see more of his character. That relationship between Wash and Mal and Zoe is just so... it's just so great and so complicated and so much tension, and yet still lots of love and respect and mutual admiration, and yet jealousy, and That's my favorite thing about war stories. And not to mention, can we just take a moment to appreciate Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion in the torture scene? Just the acting. Whoa. So, yeah. That's really why War Stories is my favorite, just because we really get to see another side to Wash. This is so not an articulate description of why I love War Stories so much. Followed closely by Out of Gas. I love, love Out of Gas. Part of it is because I just really like flashback episodes in general, like on any shows. Like on The West Wing, my favorite episodes, or some of my favorite episodes, are like the flashbacks at the beginning of the second season. And if you understand this reference, we'll be best friends forever. Oh, and another point about Out of Gas that makes it so wonderful, the mustache. Wash's mustache. I just have an unironic love of that thing. It's beautiful and bushy, and it's called Stash Burn. And you know what? If you don't like it, you're wrong. Baby Washburns? Is that a legitimate answer? I would want to see Wash and Zoe have lots of babies running around Serenity, and it would be adorable, and yeah. Oh, that's hard. I'm going to have to differentiate between straight play and musical, just because I have to, or I simply would not be able to choose. So from straight play, I would have to say Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing. Not only is Much Ado About Nothing my favorite Shakespeare play, it's just my favorite play, flat out. And I actually had this, ever since like junior high, I've been completely obsessed with Shakespeare. I used to like memorize entire sections of plays, the parts of whole characters, not because I was in it, just because I wanted to memorize it. And so then I would sit in boring classes and like write it out in pretty cursive in my notebooks instead of actually taking notes. But anyway, one of those characters who I memorized the part for was Beatrice. And I just love her. I just want to be her. She's so smart and funny and tough, and yet there's still a real vulnerability right beneath all of that layer of sass and awesome. And yeah, I just really like her. I just love that play. And I still haven't seen the movie. Well, I guess it's not technically out yet, but I can't wait. Anyway, so that's straight play. Musical, I would have to say The Baker's Wife in Into the Woods. First of all, because Into the Woods is just one of my top musicals ever, but also The Baker's Wife gets to sing my favorite song, which is Moments in the Woods. And I love The Baker's Wife because, again, she's tough and she's funny, but she is so deeply flawed, and it's just so wonderful. And I love that, okay, spoiler alert, if you don't know the show, plug your ears, I guess, unless you don't care. But I love that, she's sort of struggling to figure out who she is and what she wants through the whole show, but then she finally has that moment of clarity where she understands, and then she gets squished by a giant. So, yeah. Barrowman. Yeah. So there you go. Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing, or The Baker's Wife from Into the Woods. The next couple questions come from Ghost Girl Danny. I don't really do anything in particular. It's really just the sort of thing where I sit down to start writing a thread or a reply, and it just kind of happens. I don't know. I had to think about this one. I would say probably Egypt. For a long time, I wanted to be an Egyptologist. I was so into it. Like, I taught myself how to read hieroglyphics, and I knew all the myths and all the gods, and, I could list you pharaohs from all the different dynasties. Maybe one day, but that's not exactly a part of the world I want to be traveling to right about now. So it's like that's a dream I'm gonna have to put on hold for a bit. So the last crop of questions come from Not Just a Kid Anymore. Yes, I do. Come on. It's gotta be Wash. Wash versus anybody, for me, it's always gonna be Wash. He's my main man. It's gotta be Noah Werner from Suburgatory, because while I much prefer Arrested Development as a show in general, his character on Arrested Development, Pastor Veal, he's really, buttoned up, turtleneck kind of guy. But on Suburgatory, he takes his clothes off quite a bit. There are steam room scenes where he's just in a towel. I remember vividly multiple occasions of him just wearing a Speedo, and he's just really, really pretty. Nice arms and chest and butt and everything. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go with his character on Suburgatory. River Song would not even know what hit her. She would be knocked out cold before she even knew what was going on. It's gotta be Tam. I mean, River Song has her share of badass moments, but nothing is quite as badass as River Tam in Serenity. I mean, holy crap. You may be able to take out some of the silence there, River, but yeah, have fun with the fuck ton of Reavers. Don't think you'd be able to do it. And yes, that is the official collective noun for a bunch of Reavers. It's a fuck ton. You can quote me on that. So anyway, yes, River Tam. That has to be shove all the planets of the universe up my ass. I'm not even going to attempt the Chinese because I can't do it. No, I'm not even going to try. But that has to be the most beautiful way to express frustration that I have ever heard in my entire life. It's gotta be the War Stories shirt. You all know the one I'm talking about. It's just the color combinations and the patterns. It just looks really good on him. He does Hawaiian well, but that's my favorite. And to be honest, I'm not entirely certain if it's just because I think it's the most beautiful, or if it's partly because in the commentary for that episode, Alan Tudyk mentioned that that was a particularly nice shirt. So from there, I just decided in my own head that was Wash's favorite shirt. So, I don't know, but it's that one. We live in a spaceship, dear. And that's it. Those are all the questions. So if you've somehow managed to make it to the end of the video, I applaud you and thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I love every single one of you. Thank you for following me. I still don't really know why you're here, but I love that you are. And yeah, if I don't roleplay with you, but you want to, please send me a message. I apologize for being really slow. That's another thing I want to say to you all. I swear it's not because I forget you. It's just, I want it to be good enough. So, anyway, again, thank you for watching, and I love you.
Take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot stand. I don't care, I'm still free. You can't take the sky from me.